And this will be interesting just to see who does what in terms of qualification strategy. Remember, these drivers all had practice sessions yesterday in the heat. So will they all go out at once? That's the question. I wouldn't be in a hurry here. It looks like some of them certainly are. So we've got some that are going to wait. Yeah, I like that. Some that are going to go for it and get those laps in early. Now, will they do the full session? That's the other question. Let's just see how this works out in terms of the lap times. Don't expect the track conditions to be any different really from the end of the DRS100 session around about 10-15 minutes ago. It's a 10-minute qualifying session. The drivers can join that session whenever they want, but once they leave the session, they cannot rejoin. So in theory, driver could come out, do 3 laps, which I think is probably the window for the tyres. And then they could go and get in the shade somewhere. I think the more likely, or certainly what looks to be more likely, is that drivers are going to do the full session and see where it puts them. Let's see how the times are comparatively as the session goes on. So they've all completed an initial lap. Just trying to see which drivers have not yet taken to the circuit. Just look down towards the dummy grid. There's certainly at least 1 or 2 still down there that have decided not to go for it just yet. So we're just about to get the first of the flying laps in. The fastest of those first flying laps is Henry Foote. So 43.2 for Henry Foote. Now probably the next lap or 2 is the key here. Because what we've learned so far is that the likelihood is in this heat, and it is hot out there, we're now well over 30 degrees. In this heat, the tyre performance is in a short window. The tyres will be fine, of course, for the duration of the sessions. But to get optimal qualifying speed from them, we think, or I think, you've probably got 3 laps to put a real strong lap time in. So at the moment, Henry Foote then. So we've done the second lap. So interestingly, Henry Foote is 2/10 slower on his second lap than he was on his first flying lap. And those of you who remember the good old days, we used to have 3-lap shootout qualifying at British Championships. We used to go out for a lap, do an out lap, a timed lap and an in lap, and that was it. But here you get 10 minutes. Interesting that, well, probably 2/3 of the field have gone quicker on their second lap. Lap 3 is important here, so let's have a look at Henry Foote, the 1:38, and see when he crosses the line to complete his 3rd flying lap, whether it's faster. Charlie Radford's gone up to 3rd. It's a personal best for him on lap 3. We would imagine we are getting towards the end of the window for optimal tyre performance. Let's just have a look. So the top 2 have gone slower, Henry Foote, Ethan Critchley. Their first flying lap was their best lap, and then on the 2 laps post that, they've not gone any quicker. So Foote, Critchley, Radford, top 3. Daniel Weir is 4th. Oscar Walmsley Jones is 5th. Sherry-Ann Powell is 6th. And James Kukoilek. And then Daniel Weir goes fastest. So lap 3, Daniel Weir fastest, 43.1. Henry Foote's done his 3rd lap, not gone faster. Now then, and instantly you can start to see that on the timing screens in front of us, only 2 drivers went faster on their 3rd lap. Aaron Mentor's just done his fastest lap up to 10th. Elliot Critchley, personal best for him on lap 4, 43.3. Now then, this is key. If anyone goes faster now, the tyres have lasted a little bit longer on these DRS100 karts, or the drivers are certainly getting into a groove a little bit quicker. No, Daniel Weir goes slower. So Daniel Weir, lap 3, 43.1, lap 4, 43.4. So 3/10 drop off between lap 3 and lap 4. That could be a mistake, of course. It could be traffic. Oscar Wanzer-Jones goes up into 5th, but what we are saying is we think that the tyre life, in terms of optimal performance, is probably around 3 or 4 laps in these conditions. Nobody other than Daniela Sutton, who's gone up to 8th, has gone faster on their 5th lap. I think the times now are pretty much where they will be unless we have other drivers that are about to come onto circuit. We've had 5 minutes. We've got half distance left. Is there anybody left on? There is. I think there is people left on the grid. We'll check that in just a moment. So, as we expected, we've now completed 5 or 6 laps and nobody has gone faster on the last 2 laps. So therefore, is there much point? We've got at least, I've just heard an engine from our vantage point. We can't see down onto the start-finish line, onto the dummy grid. But there's certainly one driver coming out now, which is the 135. So Maximilian Salarski, now I think he's been really clever here. So these drivers circulating now, going no faster because nobody's gone faster for 2 or 3 laps. They're out the tyre window. So they're just putting life into the tyres at the moment. So why not just knock it on the head? I'm baffled, really. What will be really interesting is having a look now at Maximilian Salarski, the winner from Houghton Park, and we've got another one just going on to circuit now. Let's get the number. It's the number 5 of Dylan Briley. So Dylan Briley then and Maximilian Salarski, they're the two to look at. So Salarski 135, Briley the number 5. They're going to have probably 4 laps, which you know, it tells us, history tells us that that's all they need. And what I would say is they're going to have 5 laps less of pace on their tyres. So, keep an eye on Salarski, the 135. Keep an eye on the number 5 of Dylan Briley. And keep an eye on the driver that's just left Parc Fermé now, which we didn't quite catch the number of. So some drivers starting to go into the pits now, because nobody's gone faster for a long while. Salarski does his first flying lap, a 43.6, only good enough for 11th place at the moment. But he will still have another couple of laps of tyre window to operate within. Where does Briley go? He's about to come over and cross the timing beam, is he? Still out on his first flying lap is Dylan Briley. Just coming round in front of us now. So here comes Briley then. Where does he go? So Briley up to second place for Dylan Briley. A 43.116 is just around, 300ths of a second behind Daniel Weir. And the other driver to come out was Rowan Campbell-Pilling. So Campbell-Pilling then is the 108, has just started his first flying lap as well. So keep an eye on Salarski. Salarski's just done a 43.9, so no faster for him. Second session. Aaron Mentz has just done his personal best, a 43.6, but he's only driving in a while to make any inroads on terms of personal best. But the driver who has done on his first flying lap, Rowan Campbell-Pilling, 42.8, the only driver to duck under 43 seconds, and Campbell-Pilling goes fastest, 42.872, and that is exactly how you do it. You wait. You don't put extra time into your tyres. You understand where the life cycle is. You understand where the optimal use of those tyres will be. You go out and you hook up a lap very, very quickly. And that is a masterclass from Rowan Campbell-Pilling in how to administer a DRS 100 qualifying session. He's only going to put two laps into his tyres and he'll be in. In fact, he could probably duck in now. Rowan Campbell-Pilling, he's done 2 flying laps. His first one was quicker than his second. He lost 2 tenths on his second flying lap. That is job done. I'll be amazed if he carries on. He doesn't need to. He's just coming round the elbow at the moment. This will be his 3rd flying lap, will it? as the 147 just goes under our screens. The Sherry-Ann Powell in 8th place. So Campbell Pilling, Daniel Weir, Dylan Briley, they're your front three. Henry Foote, who went out early, only did 4 laps though, Henry Foote. So Henry Foote only did 4 laps, which was a clever ploy from him. Ethan Critchley, Charlie Ratford. Critchley has done 9 laps in 5th place. Sherry-Ann Powell's done 12, probably far too many. In 8th place, although she did do her personal best on lap 9. As the checkered flag comes out, Campbell Pilling has completed 3 laps, and that will do for him. Maximilian Salarski then, where did he end up? So Salarski all the way down in 14th place. He put 5 laps on the tyres, just didn't have the pace really. He's some 8/10 slower than Rowan Campbell Pilling. So Rowan Campbell Pilling, Daniel Weir, Dylan Briley. I can't see anybody making a personal best now, so I would imagine they will be the top 3. Henry Foote in 4th. Ethan Critchley was 5th fastest. He was just around about half a second slower than Rowan Campbell Pilling. Charlie Ratford in 6th. Oscar Walmsley-Jones 7th fastest. Sherry-Ann Powell, who did the most laps of anybody in the session, 13 laps for Sherry-Ann Powell. 43.5, 7/10 behind Campbell Pilling. She finds herself in 8th place. James Kukulek in 9th, and Daniela Sutton, who completed 9 laps for 10th place. Bryn Calder was 11th, Aaron Mensah was 12th, Jamie Scott 13th. Maximilian Salarski, there's a surprise, isn't there? Very fast around Hooton Park, but not managed to put that same pace around Little Rissington. 43.7 for him. That's nearly a second off the pace of Rowan Campbell Pilling. Behind them, 15th, Sam Halley-Hicksman. Kai Newman was 7th. The fastest rookie was Ethan Critchley in 5th. So, interesting stuff, but certainly, for me, an absolute masterclass from Rowan Campbell Pilling in how to duck out, get your work done, and duck back in again. 3 laps completed. He completed the least laps of everybody, but he was able to hook it up quick enough to give himself the fastest lap time. So that's the order for the DRS 100s. So we're down here with the DRS 100s just about to get themselves prepared for their first heat. Some drivers still waiting to come for the grid. Some are leaving it a little bit late, and why not? When the weather is as it is, you'll probably want to take as much shelter and as much shade as they possibly can. We will try and grab some chats with some of the drivers. We'll see who's on the grid. In fact, we'll just nip over and see if we can grab Sherry-Ann Powell, who's going to start on the outside of the 4th row. Sherry-Ann, if we can just grab a quick chat, the outside of the 4th row for you, how satisfied are you with your qualifying session?
It's alright, but I just don't like coming on the outside. It's more of the inside, but coming around the second corner, we might have the chance.
So you prefer to be on the inside of the grid if possible, but you're well aware and you've got a plan in place of how you're going to make it on that first corner?
Well, it's better 100% better on the inside, but it's just a one-on-one, 50-50.
50-50, and we noticed that you did a lot of laps in the qualifying session. Was just you were probably one of the very few drivers to do your fastest lap towards the end of the session. Did you feel that the tyres were good for the duration of the session?
There was just, by the end, it was getting too grippy.
You're just starting to lose that little bit of grip as you progress. Well, all the best from the outside of the 4th row, and we hope you have a good race. We'll just see who else we can grab hold of as well. I was quite keen to get a chat with the 135. Let's see if we can just head this way. Can we head this way? In fact, we'll go around the outside. That's probably the best way to do it. I was very keen to get a chat with Maximilian Salarski, the 135, who's just at the top end here. Obviously, loads of success for him at Hooton Park just a few weeks ago. We'll let him stick his helmet on and we'll see if we can grab a quick chat with him in just a moment. Some of the other drivers to look at, obviously a couple of the rookie drivers back towards the front of the field, the likes of Charlie Ratford, who's on the inside of the 3rd row, and then just here the 150 of James Kokolek, just here on the inside of the fifth row as well. So we was talking about Sherry-Ann Powell about the importance of trying to be on the inside. What you'll tend to find is the speed. It's so quick that they come up this start-finish straight here at Rissington that even if you are on the outside, there is generally an opportunity to dive onto the inside at some point. So drivers on the outside, it's not always that big an issue for them, that much of a problem for them. So let's just have a look at where we are now. He's just disappeared from us, hasn't he, as Maximilian? So we might have to grab a chat with him later on. You can just see the drivers are just getting themselves prepared now, the last bits and pieces. Drivers getting the helmets on, getting sat into car, starting to psych themselves up, trying to preempt what might happen during the race. I was always a driver that would sit there and try and almost visualise what might happen, try and work out what the options would be, and almost try and plot and plan my way through that first couple of corners. It never usually worked out that way, but it was nice to have a look. We'll just nip back to the front of the grid and we'll just grab a quick chat with Dylan Briley if we can, who starts third on the grid. He's just here. Dylan, can we just borrow you for a second? Dylan, so the inside of the second row, probably, other than Paul, probably about the best place to be.
Yeah, I agree. I'm just going to try and keep as close as possible, just try and pull out.
So you were one of the drivers who did a little bit less in qualifying, and I was absolutely of the opinion that less was more in qualifying, and you put less time into your tyres. And how did you see it? Did you see it that the tyre window was probably about 3 or 4 laps?
Yeah, but basically people just sort of dropped off their consistency and their speed, so we just went out a bit later and got a good lap time.
Yeah, and got yourself a little bit of free track as well, and a bit of clear air. Fairly tight in terms of lap times. How are you seeing this? Are you seeing it as a sort of 3 or 4 karts that are all going to be fairly close, or do you think it could be a few more than that?
Well, you know, everyone can. I think it's really close, so anyone from behind can.
And what would be a good result for you here? I mean, have you got tactics in play? Are you looking at, you know, obviously it's as many points as possible from a championship perspective, but do you fancy yourself to try and get your nose out front here?
Yeah, hopefully we can get somewhere up the top end of the grid.
Great stuff, and all the best for the race. So Dylan Briley there from the inside of the second row. In fact, if we just got a moment as well, we'll try and grab hold of Rowan Campbell-Pilling, who I thought probably executed his qualifying about as well as you could do. We'll nip under his shade as well. Rowan, I thought you executed qualifying about as well as you could do. It was bish bash bosh, it was done. It came out quite late, put very little wear into the tyres. Is that how you saw it as well?
Yeah. So, you know, getting out late off the grid, but being able to hook it up when it matters, when there's pressure on, is a good feeling.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's absolutely the way to do it. We saw it with Sam Faulkner as well in the DRS100s. The drivers that were able to go out and do that hot lap straight away were able to hook the tyres up. Is that something that you worked on yesterday, or just something that you thought was going to be needed today because of the heat?
I mean, we knew the heat was going to be pretty extreme today, especially for England. So just thinking this morning, seeing the seniors go out for, you know, a short period of time and basically trying to follow in the footsteps of Sam Faulkner.
And how do you manage yourself in this heat? It's obviously something that we're not really used to. You've obviously got a little bit of shade from your umbrella there. Is it just a case of keep yourself out of the sun as much as you can, take as many fluids on as you can?
Yeah, precisely. So, you know, drinking water, eating the right food, and stay in the shade.
And all the best for the race.
Thank you.
So, Ron Campbell-Pilling on the inside of the front row as well. So we'll be back in just a few moments as we'll see these young drivers, these 11 to 16-year-olds, start their first race of the day. The DRS100 first heat is on its way. Rissington Kart Club. The 100s are on circuit and ready to begin their first heat of the weekend, led by Rowan Campbell-Pilling. We spoke to him on the grid. Aaron Mentor's got a problem there, hasn't he? Just not minding to get away. It's running because the wheels are turning, but it's not. It seems to have a lot of traction. It sounds fairly sick, it has to be said. So the 146 of Aaron Mentor will not start yet. He may still get that repaired, sorted out. So Ron Campbell-Pilling will lead them, fastest in qualifying. And as he said himself, they worked out how to do that qualifying session. And the important bit, which he recognised, was you need to deliver on it. You need to do 2 or 3 quick laps. You need to deliver on those 2 or 3 laps. And that's exactly what he did. And he was the fastest man earlier on in the qualifying session. Daniel Weir is second on the grid, second fastest. Dylan Briley starts on the inside of the second row. Henry Foote is alongside him. And Ethan Critchley and Charlie Ratford. Oscar Walmsley-Jones and Sherry-Ann Powell, who we spoke to earlier as well. Will they go first time? Will Weir get the drop? I don't think he will. I think the best of the starts is going to be from Campbell-Pilling. And as we said on the grid, Briley down the inside into second place. If you're not on pole, third is just about the best place you can be on the grid, it has to be said. If you can tuck up the inside and follow the leader through into turn 1, which is exactly what Dylan Briley has done. And got himself up into second place. Oh, he got himself up into second place. It's a false start. So they've come round again. So they got a false start flag as they came through the loop. So the officials obviously weren't happy with how strung out the drivers were. And they'll come round and do it all again. So the drivers, as you'll be aware, I'm sure, are communicated to via flag signals in the same way that Formula 1 are. So the flag was a false start flag, which is a green with a yellow chevron. Oh, and this doesn't look great either. Are we going to go this time? Surely not. Oh, it's a mess. It's a bit of a mess, and Weir's got the best of the starts, and now Campbell-Pilling drops into second place. He was under pressure from the likes of Briley and from Henry Foote. That time it was certainly the outside row who got the better of the starts. It's a mess, and we've got spinners as well through the loop. And they include the 155 of Kai Newman. Who else is there as well? Is that the 128 of Oscar Walmsley-Jones, is it? And the 150 certainly of... Who's that? So the 150 of James Kukulek, who started actually quite high up. We've got a red flag. So, red flag, and I would imagine the red flag was just because it was a bit of a mess. The start was... They slowed themselves down to the point where they didn't really know where the engagement line was. They didn't really know when to start accelerating. The outside groups accelerated faster, and then there was a little bit of bumping and banging behind because they'd started and then stopped. It was just a bit of a mess from the DRS100 drivers. So they will be stopped on the dummy grid. The clerk of the course will take them all out of their karts and will have what I'm sure will be a fairly stern word with the drivers, because ultimately it wasn't the best of starts. They had 2 goes at it, and I don't think either of them were particularly fantastic. We'll let the clerk of the course do his thing. So some final pieces of information, pockets of information. We have got a car which is stranded on the outside of the loop. So we've got one that is that has stopped. The driver is out of the car and is fine. He's over with the officials now, just talking, I'm sure, debriefing on what's happened over there. But we have got one that's well, it's not going at the moment. The drivers have been spoken to. They're continuing to be spoken to by both Andy Cox and the clerk of the course. I heard the words "that was rubbish" in the telling off, which is probably right. And I think they were sort of saying, I think the officials were suggesting that it was the drivers from further back in the field that weren't keeping a consistent speed, and then all the bumping and banging came from the back of the field. So I think they were sort of saying that the front guys had done as they were meant to do. So we'll have another go. They'll do another formation lap, and we'll see if they can get us started for our third race of the day, the first heat for the DRS 100s. So the first race for the DRS 100s. Just seeing if any of the other, if that kart on the inside of the loop now, which has just been pushed back onto the track, just to see if that's going to get restarted or not. Doesn't look to be the case. It's the 150, isn't it? It is indeed. And James Coquelec. He's putting his gloves back on, so I think they've fixed it. I wonder if they're just waiting now. I wonder if they're just waiting now for the rest of the field to come round and they'll join him onto the back of that grid. Remember, we're live on YouTube, the Daniel Ricciardo Series YouTube channel. Also live on the Daniel Ricciardo Facebook page. Search that onto Facebook. Feel free to interact with us and subscribe to those two channels for all the action this season from the Daniel Ricciardo Series. Remember, our third round takes us to the south. It takes us to Clay Pigeon. It's in Dorset, Clay Pigeon, on the 28th and 29th of August. We then head to the Midlands, to Wilton Mill in September, before we go to both Rissington, back here in October. I'm sure the weather won't be 30 plus degrees when we're here on the 2nd and 3rd of October. And then we go to Fulbeck, so Lincolnshire, on the 30th and the 31st of October. That is the 6-round championship that we have this year, the revised 2021 DRS Series race calendar. And what a good job the series organisers have done to navigate their way through a pandemic. And bring us some more live racing, which of course you can see on our social media channels. And I hope you're enjoying the action in a sun-kissed Cotswolds. We're at Rissington here, just 10 miles from Cheltenham. And the weather very kind indeed, although giving a very different challenge to some of these drivers in terms of hydration. There was the incident on the opening lap of this DRS 100 heat. That was what held up some of the drivers, but they're all back in formation now, and in just a moment or two's time. I suppose that's the benefit of having some space between the races on the schedule. That space will allow for us to make sure we keep the time as closely as possible. So the drivers will go through an internal reset here. We've just got one that needs a new nose cone at the back of the field. So I'm just seeing a fairly sharp pit stop-esque replacement of that nose panel. And that's where we are. We're in Rissington Airfield, RAF Rissington, where there is a lot of Royal Air Force and leisurely gliders out there around us today. Lovely part of the country. Lovely picturesque circuit here as well. So the drivers then restart their engines. And we will begin the formation lap for the DRS100s to start their first heat of the day. Can we get away at the third time of asking? They had a false start the first time round and then a red flag the second time round. Interesting that Daniel Weir had got the drop on Rowan Campbell-Pilling last time. Henry Foote had also got ahead of the likes of Charlie Ratford, Dylan Briley. Let's see which side of the circuit makes the best of the getaways. It'll certainly be the hope of Rowan Campbell-Pilling that he gets off to the best of starts. They come round, they could go first time, couldn't they? I think if they slowed down enough, they could probably go first time. They're all there. There's a little bit of a gap in the midfield, but they're fairly well formed. They're being slowed again. I think they could probably go this time. They look at the lights, which are red, and we go green, and this time it is Rowan Campbell-Pilling who's got the best of starts. Does Briley get through? He does. Briley gets the jump into second place ahead of Daniel Weir. The rest of them all stream through. They've got through the first two corners. Do they all manage to get through the loop? They do this time, up towards Top Bend and then down this back straight. So Rowan Campbell-Pilling then has got away cleanly this time. Briley is into second place. Daniel Weir is in third, and down the hill they come towards Bottom Bend and then through Middle Bend, and not sure who named the corners here. Not the most imaginative of corner names, but we have got the elbow, which is where they are as they swing towards the right-hander. An overstart finish to complete their first lap of the race. 8 minutes plus a lap still to go here. Swinging then through. We've got to move as well for third and fourth. So the new third place driver is Henry Foote, who's got past Daniel Weir, demoted him down to third. We've got a spinner as well on the way out of paddock corner. Driver is just getting out of the kart now. So there is Henry Foote up into third. Weir is behind him in fourth place. The leaders then, just keep an eye on this gap between Rowan Campbell-Pilling and Dylan Briley. We spoke to Dylan Briley on the dummy grid and asked him what he thought would be a good outcome from today's race. He said he was looking to pick up some places if he could. He's now tracking the leader, so just in front of him is Rowan Campbell-Pilling. Henry Foote seems to have good pace, doesn't he? We've got a warning, a contact warning for the 143. The 143 of Daniela Sutton. So where is Daniela Sutton? She's in 10th place at the moment. Oscar Walmsley-Jones made a place from 13th to 12th as well at the expense of Jamie Scott, who's dropped down one. Sam Branson behind them in 15th. And Tristan Powell behind them in 16th. Here is the leader then. Don't count out this group of second, third, fourth and fifth, because they are tracking the likes of Brearley and Campbell-Pilling. Fastest lap of the race so far, Henry Foote. So Henry Foote has done the fastest lap of the race. And if anything, Dylan Briley is there this time. He's managed to close in on Campbell-Pilling. Maybe a kart length or so separates them now. Still the very early stages of this first heat for the DRS100. Through the right-hander after the dogleg into Bottom Bend and then up towards the elbow once more. No change with the leader then. Rowan Campbell-Pilling out front. He's been out front for 4 laps now. Briley just behind. Through the right-hander then and swings towards the loop. Almost an open hairpin, and then they head down towards Top Bend. They stretch their legs down towards the dogleg. Campbell-Pilling has put 2 or 3 very good corners together now. Just extended an advantage over Briley to 2 or 3 kart lengths. A little bit more comfortable for him in the lead of this race as we see the battle further down involving the 142 of Daniel Weir in 4th place. Behind him, Ethan Critchley, and then Daniel Ratford behind them, followed by Sherry-Ann Powell, who's made some place issues on the outside of row 4 to start with. She's moved up into 7th. And over the line they come. And at this point, you could make an argument for 5, maybe even 7 drivers here that could all have a say in how this race is concluded. The first heat for the DRS100s. Campbell Pilling then still leads. Briley under pressure now from Henry Foote. Now, what does Henry Foote do here? How does he manage the current situation? He's got Daniel Weir just behind him, so he can't afford to make many mistakes. There's a little glance over his right shoulder there just to check on the status of Daniel Weir. He's got Dylan Briley in front of him, and then he's got Rowan Campbell Pilling. So at what point does he have to try and dispatch of Briley to find a way past Rowan Campbell Pilling? But if anything, Briley is now on the hunt of Rowan Campbell Pilling, who's a little bit wide. Campbell Pilling through the loop this time. Go through top bend. Not much between them. Probably still 2 kart lengths the advantage between first and second. Down towards the dogleg they go. Out towards bottom bend. You can see the gap there. He's just around 2-3 kart lengths maybe. Briley's going to have to hook up a good lap or 2 here to get himself tucked right onto the back bumper of Campbell Pilling and find a way to get past. At the moment, you feel that Rowan Campbell Pilling is just about doing enough. With 5 minutes gone here, 3 minutes plus a lap left to go. Foote is still third, just dropped off the pace a little bit, hasn't he? Both him and Daniel Weir in 4th. Ethan Critchley and Charlie Ratford are 5th and 6th. Sherry-Ann Powell is still there or thereabouts, isn't she, in 7th place. Maximilian Solarski, who was the driver we didn't manage to get hold of on the grid, started all the way down in 15th place, now up to 8th. So a good recovery drive from the winner from Hooton Park, round 1. Here come your race leaders. The battle for 1st and 2nd, 2nd and 3rd, 3rd and 4th. Ongoing here, then a gap back to Sherry-Ann Powell in 5th. Then Solarski, whose next target is Sherry-Ann Powell. Then a gap back to Daniela Sutton in 9th, and Bryn Calder is 10th. Oscar Walmsley-Jones is in 11th. A new personal best for Daniel Weir on the last lap as well. 43.5 for him. Fastest lap of the race so far. 43.4 from Henry Foote. Interestingly, Rowan Campbell Pilling is 2/10 slower than the fastest lap of the race, but he's consistently managed to keep this buffer between himself and Dylan Briley in 2nd. Into the left of the loop. A little bit wide, or very wide there from Critchley and Ratford, I think, as they went through. He's going to lose another place. I think Critchley and Ratford on the back of him as they go through the top bend. Here is your race leader once more. It's still Campbell Pilling. You can see, though, that the gap is less, isn't it? It's now only maybe kart length and a half. He's certainly got more top-end speed, Rowan Campbell Pilling, as they go down towards bottom bend. Top-end speed, of course, is when you get to the end of the straights, your straight line speed. But Briley is as close as he's been for a few laps here. I wonder if he just smells himself a race victory here. It was indeed Charlie Ratford who went wide through the loop last time round. So Campbell Pilling, Briley, Foote, Weir, Critchley. Then Sherry-Ann Powell is ahead of Charlie Ratford, who made that mistake on the previous lap. Then Solarski still 8th. Bryn Calder has got past Daniela Sutton up into 9th. There is the battle for for 3rd and 4th between Foote and Weir. The battle continues between 1st and 2nd, and again, Campbell Pilling just doing enough to keep Dylan Briley at arm's length. He's got one more lap to do that now. What's Briley got in the locker? Can he push through turns 1, 2 and 3 and get himself right up behind? Is the dogleg an opportunity for him to get past on this final lap? He's a little bit more narrow in his racing line through the loop, a little bit more narrow through top bend as well, but Campbell Pilling has just got enough, hasn't he? He's just got enough of a gap. Here is the battle for 3rd and 4th, and now starting to go defensive is Henry Foote. There's no need for Campbell Pilling to go defensive just yet. I think he's probably just about done it. He comes through the final corner and heads to the elbow for the final time, the leader. Here is the challenge for third and fourth. I can tell you that there's no change out front with the leaders. Campbell Pilling has done enough just about from Brierley, who was as close as he has been on the last lap. Foot comes home in third. Fourth place, Daniel Weir. Fifth place, Ethan Critchley. Sherry-Ann Powell, an excellent drive up into sixth. Charlie Radford recovered to seventh. Maximilian Solarski made good progress as well up into eighth. Ben Calder was ninth, and Oscar Walmsley-Jones displaced Daniela Sutton on the last lap to come home in 10th place. So our red flag there caused us a little bit of a time delay. But that is the end of the heats. We will now have a break until around about 2 o'clock. And we'll be back with the DRS62s, who will be the first of our finals, scheduled off for around about 25 past 2. So the pre-final for the DRS100 is on grid at the moment, just about getting ready to go. I want to speak to two drivers, if we possibly can, who came into the DRS series via a slightly different route. So we'll head over firstly to Riven Welsh. The 157 starts on the inside of the 9th row there. Riven, tell us how you got here, because you come through a slightly different route, didn't you?
Yeah, I won the British Indoor Karting Championship. I got a free seat in the Daniel Ricciardo Series, and I'm doing okay.
Well, that's the next question, I suppose. How are you finding it? Obviously, you're sort of mid-grid at the moment. A bit of a mixed weekend, I suppose. But how are you finding it in terms of the difference between those two types of formula?
It's harder because everybody's good. Like, you got people like Rowan Cameron Phillips that's on a different league to everybody else. It's hard to mix in with people.
But still loads of chance for you to develop and obviously to grow, and that's what the series is about, I suppose, getting drivers different experiences to get themselves a little bit further up that grid. And I'm sure as you progress your season this season, you'll be looking to improve and get yourself further up the field.
Yeah, of course. I was aiming for maybe a middle pack, maybe 10th, 9th, but obviously things happen, and
yeah.
What can you do about it?
But a top 10 would be a good result, especially from here. You've got some karts to get past, but yeah,
I think top 15 would do okay.
Absolutely. So Riven Welsh there, who managed to get through into this seat in the DRS series through his British Indoor Kart Championship success via Team Sport, the UK Motorsport British Indoor Championship. Another driver who's been in that series as well. We're going to drive to the front and to Charlie Radford, the 121. We'll try and grab a little bit of shade from Charlie as well if we possibly can. Charlie, we've just been speaking to Riven Welsh. You came through a slightly different way into this Daniel Ricciardo series as well. What was that?
Winning BIKC. Yeah, basically it's just an indoor tournament. Winner got free season and I was lucky enough to win it.
And doing very well as well, standing yourself on the inside of the 4th row. So how have you found the difference between the two formula?
Pardon?
How have you found the difference between the Daniel Ricciardo series and the formula that you were in before?
Yeah, this is a lot quicker, and the the tyres really grippy, so turning's really good, and yeah.
And obviously into sort of mainstream outdoor karting as well. How have you found, I mean, the biggest difference this weekend is the heat, isn't it? How have you found the heat out there?
Yeah, it's difficult because obviously the tyre pressures, you got to find out what's good, and obviously it's really hot, so just sitting here, yeah.
Absolutely, we were told earlier on it was like driving in a swimming pool.
It is really sweaty.
So all the best for the race this afternoon and the grand final later on today. Charlie Radford there, who's on the inside of the fourth row. Two drivers who've come into the Daniel Ricciardo Series just through a different way, just a different method. They effectively won their seat through the British Indoor Karting Championship, which just goes to show how many opportunities are presented by the Daniel Ricciardo Series, and two drivers who've taken them with both hands and are both doing fantastically well as well. Keep an eye out on both Riven Welsh and Charlie Radford as we go through not just today's races but also the rounds to come. Just a few moments to go until we'll see the DRS100 drivers, and they'll be starting their pre-final in just a few minutes. So the last of our pre-finals is the DRS 100s on the dummy grid at the moment. We're just about bang on time, aren't we? Just a couple of seconds to go before they'll be released onto the circuit. And then after this one, we're into the business end of the day. We're into the grand finals for the DRS 62, 125 and 500 and 100 classes. Those pre-finals scheduled for 20 to 4, 5 past 4 and half past 4. We'll then have the full presentation to follow that. Led away by Ron Campbell-Pilling, courtesy of his first heat win. If you remember, those who watched the Houghton Park round a few weeks ago, Ron Campbell-Pilling was leading the final of the DRS 100 that day, and an exhaust clamp came off, which led to a loose exhaust, which led to him effectively being not disqualified, but he had to come in and get that repaired. He received a technical flag, which means you have to come into the pits, and that was the end of his grand final. So I'm sure he'll be looking to make amends for that. Dylan Briley alongside him. Now Briley was within touching distance for a while, wasn't he, in the first heat? I wonder if this will be a similar situation to what we've just seen on the DRS 125s. I wonder if Briley will be very keen to get track position and get past in the early stages. I'll tell you who was fast in the first heat, and that's Henry Foote, who was third on the grid. Daniel Weir is alongside them. So 22 DRS 100 drivers. All heading up towards the start-finish line. It's Campbell-Pilling and Briley on the front row. A straight drag race between them two initially, and Campbell-Pilling's got the best of it by an absolute mile. I'm not sure if that will go first time, will it? It has done. Campbell-Pilling's already got 4 kart lengths by the time he comes off the first corner. It's not the best of starts for Briley because Henry Foote has managed to find a way through. They streamed through for the first time. They've all managed to get through the paddock corner, the loop and the top bend. Here is the leader, Ron Campbell-Pilling, the distinctive yellow helmet. Henry Foote behind them, the white helmet, the green race suit. And then Alan Bryan. We've got one spinner, the 128 of Oscar Walmsley-Jones. So Oscar Walmsley-Jones, who was in 8th place on the grid, is now at the back of the field. And here's the replay. Oh, certainly some contact there, isn't there? Certainly some contact with him, and I think Sam Halley-Hicksman as well was the other driver involved. Let's have a look at who's made the most places on that opening lap. Maximilian Salarski. Salarski had a shocker in qualifying this morning, but is now up into 4th. Charlie Bradford's made 5 places as well, up into 7th. Kai Newman's up 2 into 9th. Jamie Scott has made 4 places to 11th, and Aaron Mensah has made 5 places from 19th, 20th to 15th place. The drivers who've lost out, Oscar Walmsley-Jones, who's dropped 14 places, and Tuscany Groves as well. The number 148 is down 3 places to 21st place. Here comes the race leader once more. Has Henry Foote got the pace to close this gap on Rowan Campbell-Pilling? He took a 10th of a second out of him last time. So contact warning for Sam Halley-Hicksman. I assume that is for the incident involving Oscar Walmsley-Jones. It resulted in Walmsley-Jones dropping to the back of the field. Now this gap then, so here's the battle between the 147 of Sherry-Ann Powell and the 135 of Salarski. So Sherry-Ann Powell goes past Salarski, who was making good forward inroads, but has now got a back bumper of Sherry-Ann Powell in front of him to look at. 4th place for Powell, doing a super job as well on the outside of the 4th row. At one point, Sherry-Ann Powell, and now finds herself up into the top 4. Her next target is the number 5 of Dylan Briley. So here they come then, and there is Salarski, the 135. Behind him, the 142 of Daniel Ware. So Ware, who started on the 2nd row of the grid, started on the outside of the front row earlier on today, but not quite managed to match the pace that he had in qualifying earlier on today. Currently down in 6th place or 5th place, because he's found a way past Salarski. So Salarski, all that good work. We were saying how much forward motion he'd had and how much progress he'd made, and all of a sudden he's dropped back down from 4th to 6th in the space of a lap or 2. Here is Rowan Campbell-Pilling, our race leader then. The gap between himself and Henry Foote is just around about a second between the two of them. Lap times were pretty comparable, fastest laps pretty comparable. So at the moment, I'm not quite sure where Henry Foote is going to find a second's worth of track position. In fact, if anything, the two behind him, Dylan Briley and Sherry-Ann Powell. I think Sherry-Ann Powell, I know Sherry-Ann Powell is the fastest driver on the circuit. A 43.5 for Sherry-Ann Powell is the fastest lap of the race so far. She did a 43.7 last time round as well. And she's all over the back now of Dylan Briley. So keep an eye on Sherry-Ann Powell. She's got a lot of work to do. She dives to the inside. Is she going to make it stick into the dogleg? No, decides better of it and just sticks in behind Briley, who's under all sorts of pressure now from the 147 of Sherry-Ann Powell. Dives to the inside at middle bend. No resistance at all from Briley. In fact, he almost stepped out the way. It was very, very gentlemanly from Briley. So Sherry-Ann Powell, a young lady on the move at the moment, on a charge here, up into 3rd. Next target, Henry Foote. And she will have the benefit of chasing, the benefit of being able to get her head down and get after Henry Foote, who in turn is trying to get after Rowan Campbell-Pilling, but the gap between the two of them is now up to over 1 second, 1.019 between Campbell-Pilling and Henry Foote. Let's keep an eye on this gap between Henry Foote and Sherry-Ann Powell, because I think that's coming down. I think Powell is absolutely on rails here. Let's see if she's managed to go faster this time. Yeah, 43.4, fastest lap of the race so far for Sherry-Ann Powell. Now, interestingly, and this is interesting, Sherry-Ann Powell is 0.3 of a second quicker than Rowan Campbell-Pilling at the moment. So if Sherry-Ann Powell can dispatch of Henry Foote, if she can give herself maybe 3 or 4 laps at 0.3 a lap, she would get right on term, and we've got a penalty, a black flag for Sam Halley-Hicksman. So Sam Halley-Hicksman, who was involved in that incident with Oscar Walmsley-Jones, who's still down in 21st place, has obviously been involved in another incident, is going to receive a black flag next time round, which means he has to come into the pits. Look at this then from Sherry-Ann Powell, right on the back bumper of Henry Foote now. 43.6 last time round, still fastest driver on the circuit. Where will she pick the place to get past Henry Foote? It won't be in the right-hander at Top Bend. It might be down the hill. Henry Foote goes to the inside, Sherry-Ann Powell to the outside. He's got a nose cone problem, has Henry Foote as well. Now, that nose cone's coming off. So, this is a problem for Henry Foote, because if the officials deem that that is unsafe and at risk of falling off, they will give him a black and yellow flag. Black and orange flag, which will mean that he needs to come in. It'll be interesting to see what the issue here. I can see it's dangling. It looks like the bottom left side of it has completely collapsed for Henry Foote. The bottom right, sorry, is completely collapsed. So then, will the officials look at that as a technical problem? Will they see that as something that needs to allow that driver to come in and get it repaired? Is it at risk of coming off? Probably not. It's probably... Oh, big mistake from Sherry-Ann Powell. She got all kinds of sideways on the way out. She just got it completely wrong. Caught the rumble strip. Got a huge armful of opposite lock, and it really slowed her down. She lost 3 or 4 kart lengths to Henry Foote. It was just as she came out of the dogleg. If you watch this now, so she comes out of the dogleg. This next section here clips the outside curb. She caught the curb with her right rear wheel. It spun the wheels. It kicked the wheel out a little bit. She'll have had a handful of oversteer, and it's just cost Sherry-Ann Powell a little bit of that momentum she'd worked so hard to earn in the previous couple of laps. But she is there now, and she's out to the inside of Foote. Foote, very defensive, isn't he? He's very good at defending his line. He's very good at slamming the door shut, and he does not want Sherry-Ann Powell taking that second place away from him. We're on the final lap. The battle is for second, third, fourth and fifth. We know Sherry-Ann Powell is the fastest of these 4 drivers. Has she got the racecraft to find a way through against a very good defensive driver in Henry Foote? Here they come then. No change in the leader. Rowan Campbell-Pilling has edged away from all of these at the front of the field. There's no change either. We've seen her be quick here though, Sherry-Ann Powell. Will she out to the inside as they go down to bottom bend? Nothing happening. It'll have to be in the elbow if it's going to be anywhere for Sherry-Ann Powell. Probably not close enough either, is she? No. Through the right-hander then. And it's Rowan Campbell-Pilling who wins the pre-final. Henry Foote in second place. Probably a little bit fortunate that the officials didn't see that nose cone as something that needed to be fixed from a technical perspective. Sherry-Ann Powell, what a drive into third place. Dylan Brierley finishes in 4th. Daniel Weir is 5th. Ali Hussein, what a good drive from Ali Hussein, up into 6th. Jamie Scott is 7th. Charlie Ratford is 8th. Kaya Newman is 9th. And Maximilian Solarski dropped all the way back from 4th place at one point back into 10th place. We've got 22 runners. Oscar Walmsley-Jones finished in the end in 20th. Maximilian Reed was behind him in 21st, and Tuscany Groves in 22nd place. There is your winner then, as Rowan Campbell-Pilling heads into Parc Fermé. And we have got now about 15 minutes or so until we start the DRS62 final. We'll head down there in just a few moments' time and hear from some of the drivers who could be in contention when it comes to that grand final win. That grand final scheduled, as we say, for the DRS100 drivers at 4:30. But before that, we have the 20-4 DRS62s, which will be coming up in just a few minutes. So the DRS 100 final, our last race of the day, and which of these drivers on this grid can try and stop Rowan Campbell-Pilling from making it a triple, the heat, the pre-final and the final. We're going to head back and onto row 3 and just have a quick chat with Sherry-Ann Powell, because we spoke to her earlier in the day. I thought she was excellent in the pre-final in terms of pace. Let's see what she can do from back here. Sherry-Ann, loads of pace in the pre-final, got yourself right into one of the top positions. He made it very, very wide to get past, didn't he?
Yeah, it was quite hard to get past, but I didn't end up getting past him.
And what can you do? Obviously, the inside of the third row here, you've shown that you've got the pace to probably match Rowan Campbell-Pilling at the front of the field. You've got to get past these quickly as you can, I suppose, if you've got aspirations of getting on terms with him.
I just stay behind and just through a couple of corners I'll try and get him, but not on the first one.
So a conservative first lap and see where you end up.
Try and end up on top, but don't.
Okay, we wish you all the very best for the final. We're just going to scoot over one as well and have a chat here with Ethan Critchley. Ethan, top rookie on the outside of the third row. What's the plan here? There's obviously a couple of quick drivers in front. There's a load behind that will be after your place. Is it very much a case of trying to get some track position in amongst these guys?
Yeah, I think covering the inside into turn 1 will be key to kind of stay in position, and then once the race settles down, we'll see what the pace is like, and if we can overtake a few cars, that'd be nice.
Absolutely. And we looked before, but we talked a lot about the heat today. We've talked a lot about tyre degradation and how tough it's going to be. This is the longest race of the day. How much of a difference does that make in terms of how the kart's going to handle?
Well, obviously it's going to be a bit more slidey towards the end. So I suppose if you can be a bit more careful on your tyres in the first couple of laps, it might reward you at the end. So, top drivers might be better at the end. So you might see a reshuffle.
We wish you all the best for the grand final. I'm just going to come back one as well and have a quick chat with Maximilian Solarski. Not quite the weekend that you would have hoped for, I'm sure. You were obviously right at the front of proceedings at Hooton Park in round 1. It's been a bit of a mixed round 2, it has to be said.
Yeah, we had a bit of problems today, which made us go a bit slower, but hopefully we've got it all sorted for the final. And
we saw you move right through the field. Obviously, qualifying wasn't the way you wanted it to be, but you've now made a bit of a recovery, haven't you? You're on the outside of the fourth row. What's realistic from here?
Well, just see what happens now. Just go as far as I can. Yeah.
We wish you all the best for the grand final. So that's 3 of the drivers from a little bit further down the field, all be looking to get themselves on terms with those 2 at the front. So let's see if any of them can make the inroads in the opening few laps to get themselves on terms with the likes of not just Rowan Campbell-Pilling, but the number 5 of Dylan Brealey and the number 138 as well of Henry Foote. All 3 of those have shown pace to be at the sharp end of this DRS 100 final. Let's see who comes out on top. The DRS 100 final is due to start in just a few moments. So it all comes down to our final race of the day, the DRS 100 grand final. And we'll do a second formation lap here just to let some of the drivers at the back of the field catch up. So 12 minutes plus a lap for this DRS100 Grand Final. We're talking on the grid to Ethan Critchley about how that may differ in terms of tyre wear, in terms of how the kart feels. It could be uncharted territory for some of these drivers. So we've now got a bit of an issue where we've got one driver who's got to drop to the back of the field and the rest of them have got to go past him. So they're going to go round again. So we've got a third attempt. Remember, it was the DRS100s who had a start aborted earlier on today. Resulted in a few of them getting a bit of a ticking off from the officials. But we will have a third attempt this time round. (11 to 16-year-old), these young drivers. I was reading earlier on as well, Risha Palmovsky, who was in the field at Houghton Park, is actually at the Grand Prix this weekend, so has decided to miss this round and try and count it as one of her drop scored rounds. I'm sure the people at Silverstone are enjoying the weather just as we are. I wonder if they've got the same close racing that we have here as well. It's away first time, is it? Is it? Campbell Pilling's got a great start, but he's certainly got a jump. It wasn't the most even of starts. It hasn't been for the last couple, to be perfectly honest. It's almost like they can't decide who's going to go first, and they're trying to persuade each other to get going. And in the end, Campbell Pilling just says, well, I'm the pole man, I'll get going now, and off he goes. And the rest of them are very slow to react. So Ron Campbell Pilling has made the best of the start. He's given himself the best possible opportunity to make it 3 out of 3 today and take maximum points here from Little Rissington for round 2 of the Daniel Ricciardo Series. His early pursuer is the man who started behind him. Henry Foote is behind him. Let's see where the lights. So Sherry-Ann Powell is up one place as well. So she said she was going to have a conservative start, maybe try and pass 1 or 2. Well, she's passed 1. She's passed Daniel Ware. And Ethan Critchley is up a place as well. And Maximilian Solarski is up a place as well into 7th. Jamie Scott is up to 8th. Who else made good inroads on that last lap? Aaron Mensah up into 13th from 15th. Sam Halley-Hicksman, expect him to come through the field in 5th at the moment, and then Maximilian Reid has made 2 places from 20th to 18th. The drivers who've lost out on that first lap: Sam Branston all the way down in 21st place. Charlie Ratford lost a couple of places as well, the British indoor karting champion. Contact warnings as well for Jamie Scott and Charlie Radford, so that might be the reason why Charlie Radford had lost a couple of places last time round. So Campbell Pilling, fastest lap of the race so far on lap 2, 43.535. The lead at the moment is fairly comfortable. It's maybe 5-6 kart lengths. It's 0.7 of a second over Henry Foote, who has got Brealey. Well, he hasn't got Brealey now. He's got Sherry-Ann Powell now. Just watch Sherry-Ann Powell here. She could be a dark horse to win this race. Sherry-Ann Powell is in 3rd. What Campbell Pilling has got to do now is really start to put the hammer down, really start to, as we've got a retirement of the 155 of Kai Newman, really got to put the hammer down as Campbell Pilling, because if Sherry Powell can find a way past Henry Foote, and that's easier said than done, by the way, she will have a free run at Ron Campbell Pilling, and she'll have a lot of time to do it as well. And she's shown the pace in the pre-final. Let's see. Sherry-Ann Powell has to get past Henry Foote quickly. Cannot spend 3 or 4 laps in behind Henry Foote. And if anything, Henry Foote might be as well to let Sherry-Ann Powell pass. And the reason for that is Sherry-Ann Powell has more pace than Henry Foote. There's no doubt about that. Sherry-Ann Powell could drag Henry Foote towards Rowan Campbell Pilling. So if Henry Foote is, trying to engage a little bit of racecraft here, he might say, go on then, you're quicker than me, take me towards the race leader. Give me a chance of winning the race at the end by making a couple of overtaking manoeuvres. I'm not sure Henry Foote has thought about that. I'm not sure. Well, he's going defensive, so he's certainly not thinking about that. But all he's doing is probably ruining any chance of him. Or see, he's waving now to Cherian Powell to say, come on, we'll get after the leader. But you're not quick enough, Henry, to get up to the leader. You've shown that in the last few laps. I would let Cherian Powell pass. It might seem counterproductive. It's actually very clever racecraft because it might take you closer to the winner of the race. Might take you to the sharp end. He's actually backing the rest of them up at the moment. All this does is plays into the hands of Rowan Campbell-Pilling, because Campbell-Pilling has extended his advantage to 1.4 seconds. He's defending again, Henry Foote. This is, well, it's, I'm not going to criticise Henry Foote for driving defensively. What it is doing is probably preventing the spectacle of us having a Cherian Powell versus Rowan Campbell-Pilling shootout, because Cherian Powell just can't find a way through now. Henry Foote is so keen to keep her behind. He's constantly looking behind. He's constantly checking where she is. He's constantly trying to cover off where she is on the circuit. We've got one car with an exhaust manifold error as well. Again, Henry Foote waves to Cherian Powell. Cherian Powell needs to ignore that. She needs to force her way past if needs be, because she's losing her chance to go and win this race by not forcing her way through. This is where we see racecraft come into it. He's so obsessed, isn't he, Henry Foote, with looking either side, covering off Cherian Powell. It's a long time to defend second place. He waves again. Pointless, Henry. Either get your head down and get after the race leader, or let her go and get onto the back end of her and let her drag you to the race leader. From a complete neutral's perspective, come on, Cherian. Find a way past. Force your way through. Give yourself the chance to get on terms with Campbell-Pilling. We want to see close racing. We want to see challenges for the lead. And all at the moment that's happening is Henry Foote keeps waving to her as if to say, please stay behind me. She's got to try and find a way through. He looks again to the right-hand side, goes defensive, waves again to her. They go through bottom bend once more. It's got to be worth a dive, hasn't it, Cherian? It's got to be worth a little look somewhere. And if you can't, then do the same again. Daniel Weir, I'm sure, will have the bit between his teeth and try and find a way through. It is tough to overtake here, but there are opportunities to do it. Through the left-hander they go of the loop, up towards top bend. Campbell-Pilling absolutely cruising at the front of this field, and that's because the only driver really who has the pace to get on terms with Rowan Campbell-Pilling is stuck in behind a very, very wide Daniel Ricciardo kart of 138 Henry Foote. They head towards the right-hander and then to the elbow. Cherian Powell still tucked up behind the second place of Henry Foote. Campbell-Pilling 2 seconds ahead. 43.6 for Campbell-Pilling. The trailing group are doing 43.6s as well. But the problem is track position. Track position is some 2 seconds between third and fourth. And here comes the 152 of Ethan Critchley. So that's how you do it. So Critchley has dived down the inside on the way into the dogleg and is now ahead of Daniel Weir. Dylan Briley is behind both of them, currently in 6th place. Maximilian Salarski is 7th, Jamie Scott is 8th, and Charlie Ratford, the British indoor karting champion, is 9th. Oscar Walmsley-Jones is 10th, Aaron Mensah 11th, and Ali Hussein is in 12th place. So the leaders then continue to complete laps here. No major changes. We've had 7, nearly 8 minutes of the race. We've got 4, so we're 2/3 distance through, plus that one final lap. Rowan Campbell-Pilling has got a back marker to deal with in Tristan Powell. He's got to find a way past Powell. Keep an eye on Ethan Critchley here, looking dangerous, isn't he? Because what Cherian Powell's going to find is, because she hasn't managed to find a way past Henry Foote, there will now be drivers that will find a way past her and will have a pop at Henry Foote. Henry Foote is the slowest of the 4 drivers, but he has got track position. He's sat there in second place, and here comes Critchley down the inside, and that is the danger, Sherry-Ann Powell, of not forcing the issue, not forcing your way through past Henry Foote in second. He has held you up now for, well, some 9 or 10 laps of this race. Not only has that prevented you from getting on terms with Rowan Campbell-Pilling, but it's now put you in a battle with Ethan Critchley as well. She did manage to catch Ethan Critchley on the switch. Drove back down the inside and is now back onto Henry Foote, who is still waving at people. Not quite sure why. He's still waving at people as he comes down through the bottom bend. Is she close enough this time? She's going to force away. He's very defensive. Critchley down the inside as well. Oh, he hasn't made that move stick. He won't make that move stick. Half a move from Ethan Critchley. And now Critchley, by making that half move, have come under pressure from Daniel Ricciardo. So a little bit of lack of conviction from Ethan Critchley. Made it stick the lap before. Couldn't make it stick this time. And it's cost him time. It's dropped him back behind Daniel Ricciardo and possibly into the clutches of Dylan Brealey as well. So Dylan Brealey in 6th place. Maximilian Salarski is up to 7th. Jamie Scott is 8th. Charlie Ratford still in 9th. Aaron Mentor up a couple of places. And Oscar Walmsley-Jones is into 11th. Ali Hussein is 12th. And Daniela Sutton in 13th place. There is your race leader. So we don't attempt fate here, but there was a similar situation for Rowan Campbell-Pilling. This time 3 weeks ago at Hooton Park, and his exhaust manifold broke. And that led to him receiving a technical flag. Played right into the hands of Maximilian Salarski, who went on to win that weekend. Freddie Cox was second. Freddie Cox isn't here this weekend. I saw a note to say he was isolating from COVID-19. Oh, and wide goes Daniel Ricciardo, so we just saw him run wide on the exit. And here comes Sherry-Ann Powell with a move that really she should have done all of 10 laps ago, but she now is through. And now this will be a great indicator of how fast Sherry-Ann Powell could have been. Let's look at the distance and the gap between herself and Rowan Campbell-Pilling. She's made the move now and has moved up into 2nd place. Henry Foote up into 3rd, or back down to 3rd rather. Critchley is now 4th. Daniel Ricciardo, courtesy of running wide on the exit of Top Bend, now finds himself into 7th place. So then, I'm so interested to see what the difference will be here between these two in terms of time. So last lap, Rowan Campbell-Pilling did a 43.4. I think Sherry-Ann Powell has had to deal with a back marker, or she will have to deal with a back marker before too long. But you can already see that she's extended her advantage over Henry Foote. Oh, fastest lap of the race so far for Sherry-Ann Powell. We've been robbed of what would have been an absolute spectacle here between Sherry-Ann Powell and Rowan Campbell-Pilling. Sherry-Ann Powell has just done the fastest lap of the race so far, 43.268. If only she could have forced the issue with Henry Foote within a lap or so of getting into 3rd, we could have had a completely different final here for the DRS100. As it is, Rowan Campbell-Pilling has nearly a 4-second advantage. He's currently lapping around 0.2 of a second slower than Sherry-Ann Powell. But there is no way that in the remaining 1 lap of this race she's going to close that gap. She's just done another 43.3 for Sherry-Ann Powell. And this is the point I was making. Henry Foote has just done his fastest lap of the race. If he had relinquished that, I know it feels strange for these young drivers, but in terms of racecraft, in terms of trying to get the end result, Henry Foote should have let Sherry-Ann Powell pass, because she's doing now what he wanted her to do earlier. He's using her speed to drag him along. This would have been a bumper grandstand finish. As it is, we've got a distant winner, or a distant leader, who is going to win, I'm sure, because he's coming round the final corner. And Rowan Campbell-Pilling wins, lights to flag. Sherry-Ann Powell, take nothing away from that young lady. It is a good result in 2nd place. It could have been even better, no doubt about that. Henry Foote will get his place on the podium in 3rd. Ethan Critchley in fourth. Dylan Briley finishing fifth. What a good recovery drive from Maximilian Salarski up into sixth. Daniel Weir was seventh. Jamie Scott was eighth. Charlie Ratford was ninth. And Aaron Mensah was 10th. Rowan Campbell Pilling then won the first heat, fastest in qualifying, won the first heat, won the pre-final, has won the final at a canter as well. We can talk about what could have been, but Sherry-Ann Powell, an excellent second place and a fist pump to go with it as well. There we go. Henry Foote will be pleased, I'm sure, with third. Ethan Critchley and Dylan Briley likewise fourth and fifth. Top rookie was Ethan Critchley in fourth place. A good drive from him. And that concludes our DRS Series second round here at Little Rissington in the sunny Cotswolds. We'll be back in around about half an hour's time with the trophy presentation. A thank you from me and the officials here at Little Rissington. Great host for us once more. We're back, remember, at Little Rissington later on in the series. We'll be back here for round 5 in early October. Let's hope the sun shines down on us then. But from me and everyone here at the Daniel Ricciardo Series, we'll see you for the trophy presentation in 30 minutes' time. And welcome to the trophy presentation for round 2 of the Daniel Ricciardo Series here at Little Rissington. We'll start with our DRS 62 class, and we'll start with our top rookie driver. Our top rookie driver finished overall in 4th place, and it was the 120 of Oscar Walsh. So our top 3 then, and in 3rd place was number 6, Harry Bartle. Second place for number 4, Jack Robinson. And today's winner picked his spot with around about 2 laps to go and never looked back. Today's winner, the 121 of Conor Scarisbrick. Ladies and gents, your DRS 62 top 3. So from the youngest to the oldest, it's our DRS 125. Straight into the top 3 with 3rd place, the number 317, Dylan Reid. In 2nd place, the number 2 of Matthew Pearce. And a clean sweep it was for the number 283. Your winner today for DRS 125, Sam Faulkner. The top 3 for DRS 125. And finally, the DRS 100. We start with the top rookie, who also finished in 4th place. It was the 152 of into the top 3 in 3rd place. I think it's fair to say the widest kart, the widest DRS kart in Little Rissington this weekend. The 138 of Henry Foot. And possibly a case of what could have been, but nonetheless a super drive for 2nd place for the 147 of Sherry-On Powell. And is winner, and a clean sweep as well for the number 108, Ron Campbell-Pilling. Ladies and gents, your DRS 100 top 3.
Well done, guys. Thank you.
Thank you on behalf of everybody here at Little Rissington and the Daniel Ricciardo Series. We will see you all in a month's time when we head down to the south coast to Clay Pigeon. We'll see you